Hello again, TNA fam, and welcome to the Impact Zone podcast. We are back again to talk more TNA wrestling shenanigans. And, I think we did sort of touch on this, but we're discussing Turning Point now because we're starting to get along that road. I do want to talk about Final Resolution and Genesis as well, but those are down the road a little bit more, so we're talking Turning Point first. So, obviously, there is no like tapings up to like the day before, I believe, of taping, which is a live episode. So they're gonna have a really tough time building matches and stories and things for this show if they're not gonna have in-ring action, in-ring promos, vignettes, this sort of thing. This week's episode of TNA, I think for casual, well, more casual fans, I don't know whether you can say that about people who watch TNA, but the more casual TNA viewers, I think it would have been pretty boring. I found it somewhat tedious. The only really good thing in there was Eric Young being an absolute menace. I think that was the only really good thing in there. Next week they've got a another special that is a look at the fallout from Bound for Glory and whatnot. So next week is going to be another snooze, pretty much for a lot of fans. But then again, the thing is, I've said this probably 1,000 times, their TV numbers don't really go up or down very much. So I guess that's fine if you don't really care about your TV numbers currently, because it's like, well, we're never getting them up and we're never really getting them that far down, so it really doesn't matter all that much. But for the events that you've got coming up, you really need to promote them. And I've said this 1,000 times as well. You cannot do that by just saying, oh, well, we'll work it out or have something on the day or the day before or what have you. You need to set things up. And even like a month's build isn't a lot of build. You really need a few months worth of build, for a lot of things. So you need to sort of already be building these things. You already need to have that like seed planted, and this is what I've been saying for a while. It's like that it seems like they just make these decisions sometimes on the fly, and that is good, keeping your ear to the ground and kind of listening to the fans and whatnot. But you need to at least at least Santana's like story, that was a thing that had been seed planted for a while. Joe Hendry's thing had been a seed planted for a while. Like Leon Slater's thing had been a seed planted for a while. There's been a lot of these little things, and I can point to a few more of them, but like I'm not gonna do all of them. But again, just saying, well, what's the seed planted right now? Is there one? I can't really tell because it's like really hard. You've got Kazarian and Nick Nemeth as challengers soon for Santana, so that's something. At least you could do that pretty easily. You could do a triple threat, though I think it'd be better if you did, singles matches, honestly, because then at least in some ways, you're stretching it out. You know what I mean? You're not just here's one and done or what have you, or maybe you could like finagle it in some sense, because if one of them gets pinned in the match, then you could have the other one be like, hey, I didn't get pinned in that match, and then go on from there. So I don't know, but still, it's like I don't really see what you're trying to do and what's going to be the next big thing. Like, if you look, I guess, at the roster, for Santana, and I'm just looking for Santana at the moment because this, like, the world title is always the most prominent thing, so it's like that's the thing that you think of first. You might have AJ Francis, though I kind of want to see AJ Francis more down the line, and Santana has beaten him fairly recently. I'm only going to look at heels probably. I mean, we could talk about Brian Myers, Cedric Alexander, and a few other people, but like, I think Brian Myers has settled into his position and he isn't really a top contender. Um, Cedric Alexander, I don't know really if he's still sticking around, so hard to say. I kind of want to say something about somebody else, but I'll wait. Eddie Edwards, he's on the other side of the fence kind of thing, so I'd see him challenging in another position. I kind of wanted to see him and Trick, but it never really happened. So I don't know why. Maybe because they were too focused on the story with him and like the Order 4 or whatever, or just telling other stories. But I still think he should have challenged for the title at some point. Elijah's on the other side of the fence. I like EY, but I think EY has come to that point in his career where it's like he's not over the fence, but he's over the fence per se. You can't do anything with him anymore. Like, you can do little things with him, but like giving him titles or giving him reigns is not really worth it. Like, for the most part. So I just don't see it. Kazarian's in the same boat, like, and Nick Nemeth is kind of in the same boat. Honestly, a lot of these guys are in the same boat. They're guys that are their time is basically past, and it's like time for the next generation. You can use them to build up the new guys, but you can't really use them as the guy. They're not the guy. They're just, you know, upper level card hands that really help elevate people. Same with like JDC. I'd like to see something more for Jake something, so I kind of want to see him at some point do something, but what, I don't know. Oh, there's a lot of people that are in tag teams, but I'm not going to consider them. KC Navarro is still injured. Mace Warner, I really want to see something for Mace Warner. I kind of wanted him to win the quarter shot. The quarter shot was like the hardest thing to pick. And the way they kind of resolved it was like, oh, okay. Matt Cardona's in that same position as, like, you know, EY and all of that. He's just an upper card guy that helps other people get over. I think Moose is starting to transition into that point. I think Eddie is definitely in that point. But I still think you could give titles to Moose. But he's on the other side of the fence for Santana right now. The best person is obviously Mustafa Ali. But I don't know how... Like, I'd rather you wait, like, at least a few months to pull the trigger on them having a rematch. So, yeah, I don't know. And that's... Oh, whoa. What's happened there? That's pretty much it. But Chris Bay has, like, seemingly started to come back. So that's cool. That's great. I'd actually like to see if he can come back. But obviously, I think he'd be on the babyface side. So it's really tough to sort of see where, see where he's going to fit in. So the current roster just doesn't subside to Santana really right now, unless you're going to turn a bunch of people heel just to give him challengers. That, or you're just going to bring in a whole bunch of NXT people just for, him to challenge. That's one good thing about the NXT and TNA rosters kind of blending and mixing together, is that if there is a shortcoming on one roster, the other roster can help to fill it. But that's kind of bad because it's like, again, I'm kind of sick of that this NXT experiment kind of thing. it wouldn't be too bad if, as long as like an NXT person doesn't hold the title, I guess. But then it's like, oh, you bring this person in for a month or whatever it is, and then they're gone. It's like, there's no investment. I can't believe that this person's just going to turn up for this month and then going to win the title. I can't believe it. If you bring them in and they're here for a few months, okay, cool. Now I can start to believe that, because they're here for a few weeks, they're here for a few months. Okay, we're building to something. We're going somewhere, and that's going to be the thing. Okay, cool, great. So that's where we're going. That's what we're doing, and that's the whole goal. Okay, great, I also think the same problem can be said for Steve Macklin. I said, he's in the same position. There's basically no one really there that's a great challenger for him that can, challenge him. Same for Leon Slater. There's no one really there to challenge him. Matt and Jeff, the Hardys, tag team titles. I don't know. It's a bit different. So same with the Knockouts titles. Knockouts tag titles. Let's look at Kalani Jordan. So you got May. I don't think you take Alicia Edwards. I don't think you take any baby faces, honestly. So you've got Danny Luna, maybe. I kind of want Danny Luna to kind of beat Kalani, because I'd like to see Danny be the champ. I think she's earned it at a certain point, so I'd like to see that. There's a bunch of people in tag teams, so I'm not really going to consider them all that much. I think it would be cool because, you could then have stuff for Jody Threat and a whole bunch of other people. Like, Indy can come back to try to challenge Danny for the title, and then you can get the belt onto Indy that way at some point down the road, maybe. You've got Killer Kelly. I wish Kylan King was back because she's been injured forever. But whatever. And I'm really only looking at heels here, I guess. You've got so many I say you haven't got many tag team people, but yeah, you have a few tag team people. Myla Moore and some people that are just oh yeah, they're on the roster, but we haven't seen them in forever. It's oh yeah, whatever. You've got Rosemary, but obviously Rosemary is in that same position of being an upper hand sort of elevator for people. I think Steph Delander's kind of retired technically. I don't know. Tasha Steelz, maybe, but she's always in that position of upper hand elevator type thing. You got Tessa Blanchard, but I don't want to see the issues that come along with putting the belt, or even Tessa challenging for the belt, really. I think it storyline wise, character wise, in-ring wise, everything else, absolutely. I'm 100% behind the Tessa Blanchard wrestler idea. That's fine with me. I have no qualms. But I think not just the internet fandom, but the arena fandom of having her in the company is bad. So I would whenever her deal runs up, I would not renew, because it is not worth the effort and the energy to keep butting your head against that wall. Victoria Crawford's very much in that elevating sort of position. So I think Alicia kind of is as well. She never has really won anything, except for the Knockouts tag titles. But, she's really been an elevator for other people. I kind of want to see Mara Shade kind of get there. They've really been featuring her a fair bit of recent. So I think she could do something cool. Though they did feature Zaya Brookside fairly heavily for a while, and then they just kind of put her in the tag team and haven't really done anything with her for a while. But then again, I'm well, who else would you put Laying Lee with? I don't know. I can't, like I said before, I kind of want to see Jody Threat do stuff, but she can only really do stuff with a person she has a story with, which is, Danny. So my ultimate pick for now is to put it onto Danny at some point. Though I kind of think that that is a bad choice in some ways because, like, people will want to cheer that, a TNA person has won the title in some ways. So putting it on a heel is kind of a little bit awkward. I don't know. So I just was going through that, but let's look at now the tag teams because this is the only way you can build like stories and matches and things like that, people want to come and see. So let's look at the male tag teams, I guess, first. So you got First Class. I would like to see them win it. I think that, like I said, AJ is one of the few good singles people. Like Rich Swann is a fairly good singles person, but I don't know. He's kind of almost in that position of being an elevator guy, of just like here to elevate other people. So I don't know. You're gonna have to like do a lot for either of them to be in that singles division, but you're also gonna have to do a fair bit for them in the tag team division. So I don't know. Let's see now. You've got the Rascals. Obviously, you've got the Great Hands. You've got Sinner and Saint, though they've just turned babyface. So I don't know, or sort of babyface. I don't know. You've got this new team with the hometown man and Matt Cardona. I don't really know. You've got any variant of the system that you want. You've got the Rascals, obviously. Any variant of them. Who else have you got? You've got the Nemeths, though they've kind of just lost the belts, so I don't know. You're probably not going down that route. Is Kazarian and Jake something gonna be a tag team? That becomes my next question. Are they gonna actually be like a tag team? And then that's about it for male tag teams. That's all you've got really. So female tag teams, you've got the Angel Warriors. You have Myra and Harley, which don't even have a tag team name. I think a lot of the other people that are on the roster, like Jada Stone and whatnot, they do tag, but they don't have again, same problem. You don't really have a tag team. You have two individuals that are in a tag. You have Killer Kelly and a few other people that you could put together in tag teams. You have the Elegance brand, obviously, as I said, but who else have you got as tag team people? That's pretty much it, I think. Yeah. So, yeah, you do not have many, female tag teams or just, things to do in that dimension. So, again, that's the problem. It's who are these people going to face? What are you going to do with them? Maybe you're going to debut more people or you're going to have more people, for them to wrestle against, but it's dude, this is what I mean. What do you do with these people besides oh, well, I guess we'll bring in some NXT people, your roster, is bolstered by the fact that you have the NXT people, but you really need your own people too. You can't just be sitting here and then 9 months, 6 months, whatever, a year down the track, be oh, yeah, all those NXT people that are fly-by-night sort of people that come into the company and then are gone in a month. No one's going to believe that they're going to win the title. Unless it's in an upset. And then that's you can do that in a heel way, but mostly that's a babyface thing. Baby faces somehow, some way won the title. Whoa, wow. You can do that with heels, but it's like a lot more difficult. So unfortunately, I do think that the problem is that it is right now set up so that the only real thing that you can do is have NXT challengers coming over and whatnot, or, that sort of thing. So I think you have to look at it like, okay, let's look at, upcoming, like Genesis, down the road, So I can't remember what date it specifically is. Whoa, it's not listed? Genesis is not listed. Okay, cool story, bro. Let's find it. Because I am finding... Okay, that's not it, is it? Though I just noticed this. I don't know whether this has anything to do with it. But this, the Final Resolution media tour is with Nick Nemeth and with Mike Santana. So that tells me it's Mike Santana and Nick Nemeth. Probably in Final Resolution. So, but we'll have to see. We'll have to find out more. Why is this not showing me? Where is it? They have the First Class Penthouse on Explosion with Myron Reed. What the heck? So the Rascals are going to take on First Class at some point. Okay, whatever. Okay, I cannot find it on here for no real reason. So I'm going to look elsewhere. So let's see if I can find it here. Hopefully quickly. No, I might not have it yet. No. Let's see if I can find it here. Quickly, hopefully. Okay, so, where are we? Can't read. So it's not even... I don't even think that it has a date. Does it? Let's see if it has a date. Because it says 2026, Dallas, Texas. It doesn't even have an arena yet. So... yeah. So we don't have a date or a location for Genesis. So that could change things, because like I was thinking, like, one of the biggest things will be, like, next year, this new TV deal. If let's look at a calendar, just a generic calendar for next year. Let's look. So there is the 1st of January is is TNA. Thursday 1st. So, but that weekend would be like the 3rd or the 4th, maybe the 2nd, I don't know. You could put Genesis on Thursday. I don't know. It depends how you build it up. But again, wait and see. But still, like, if you do that, then you're like, okay, we're also going to announce... Well, we're hoping you'll announce the TV deal before that. But then you're like, okay, next week is like... you could do another filler episode. Like, you do the end of the year filler episodes where it's like, wrestler of the year, match of the year, da-da-da-da, all that stuff. So, you could do another filler episode that's, I don't know, or whatever. Or you could just skip it. I don't bloody know. But then you go to the 8th and say, okay, it's not as good as debuting on the 1st, but like here you have, like, you could still have something on the 1st, but then you have Genesis, then you have like that whole like pay-per-view energy. This is where we're starting a new life next week, blah blah blah, on this new station, da 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 da. Obviously you can still get that with like, this is our final resolution, type thing. You could even say it's a turning point. That'd be good, because it's like, this is our turning point, type thing of getting this deal done finally, and it's finally announced. Like, it's not just the deal is done or the deal is close to being done or whatever. I think the deal is almost done with that TV deal, but like, that's what I mean. Like, how are you building these shows up? When are they going to happen? Why, etc. All the things. So, like, that's what I'm thinking. It's not just events, it's what do you have for those events and whatnot. So I said this before with like the Hardys. Like, I think Matt Hardy teased recently on his podcast, saying something about like a new contract with TNA, saying, hey, we might have re-signed already. Dude, I honestly hope not. Like, guys, go, like, if you guys want to retire and want to have your last matches, go to WWE. I would rather see you guys in WWE doing your thing over there, because and despite that, like, saying having said like the tag division is slim, the Hardys are on a lot of money, obviously. So, like, freeing up that money would allow you to get in multiple tag teams. So, yeah, I just would rather have more younger guys, more guys that, like, that are just like, we're here for the long haul, and seemingly nothing's changing. Like, we're not gonna, well, maybe we'll break them up, if you're tag team down the line or whatever. Or, like, these are stories at the end of the day. It's not just, we're going to break you up or whatever just because, like, or we're not going to send you through this just because. These are things to build, other matches, other things and whatnot. So it's like, I get that. That's fine. But saying, hey, we didn't really think this through when we broke this tag team up, or when we did this, or when we did that, or when we had to go around and then forge another tag team because, yeah, we just realized we only have like 2 or 3 tag teams, and now we need more. So, and like, this person, we don't really trust them to be, or whatever, or we don't see them as a big single star or whatever else. So we would rather them be in a tag team. They're still really like a good hand in some ways of doing certain things, or being a certain role filler, or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe I haven't thought about Secret Agent Zero, but he hasn't had any like matches really yet. So, and like, I think, like, you had Ridge Holland there before, so maybe you could argue that he'll come back to TNA, or he could work with TNA again in the future. But like, I don't know. Is it worth? I don't know, because again, like, Santana's already beat him. So are you going to put him in the mid-card division? Like, you could start him there, like, obviously. But, it's like, Is he going to win the title on the first night or in the first month or in the first week? No. You've got to, give him opponents to beat if you're gonna have him challenge for any title down the road. You can't just turn around and be like, oh, here's this person, unless it's a really built up person, like maybe Obafemi. And then it's like, if you've got Obafemi coming into your roster, he's babyface, bro. I wouldn't mind seeing Obafemi and Santana, but I don't know, dude. Are you really gonna pull that trigger? I kind of want to see them bring in actual main roster people, like Penta. That's one person that I want to see with Santana, from WWE. I think a lot of people want to see them run it back, but is it gonna happen? I don't know, dude. That's what I mean by saying that the roster right now, it's really thin. And that's why it's you feel like, oh man, you've got these guys that are already established guys, certainly. But you haven't got enough other guys that you can actually be invested in and be like, yeah, let's go this person because they haven't done anything and they haven't won anything and they aren't believable and again, it's just that problem. So that's what I mean. Even with the fact, if you had said, okay, we're going to have an episode this week or whatever it was and an episode next week, or we're going to have tapings or whatever it is, and then we're going to have these special episodes as well that are behind the scenes and stuff. That's why I was saying, or trying to kind of say, you should have had these episodes, regular TV episodes of Impact. And you should have had these, behind the scenes stuff episodes just for, the people who were like, oh man, I really want to see that, or whatever, the super fans, effectively. But yeah, I was trying to say, it's you've got Kazarian. Maybe I just don't see them pulling the trigger. If they were going to pull the trigger at a certain point, I feel like they already should have done it. That or whatever. Turn him back babyface and then say this is his retirement tour or whatever. Do the Ric Flair thing or the hardcore country type, the last rodeo type thing. This is my last rodeo. If I don't win the belt, that's it. I retire, whatever, type thing. That's the, once I lose the belt, I retire, do that. That's the only thing, left to do with him. Or to be yeah, even as a heel, maybe you could still do it. Be like he loses his call your shot or whatever, and then you go on this journey, or a little bit of a journey, and then be I maybe he doesn't get pinned, but he lost, and then you're saying, well, I didn't lose, but whatever, I did lose, but I didn't, and my career's been so long and whatnot, but it is time to wrap it up, in some ways. So if I don't win that belt, that's it for me, final resolution, though it doesn't make much sense. So, but still, you could do it the other way. If he loses, then goes on and says, well, this is my last chance. I lost, got pinned, yada yada, time to retire, Even you could still do it as a heel, but it's harder to do as a heel. I think it'd be easier to do as a face. But again, that's not, the position that you're kind of in, or he's going to be in. Maybe at the end of that match, at the end of a good match, you could almost do the Roddy Piper, Bret Hart kind of thing, where they wrestled at WrestleMania. What WrestleMania was it? Was it WrestleMania 8? I can't remember. Where Piper was old school heel, for years, for decades, and whatever. People knew that he had been like this heel for decades and whatever else. So he was like, but he was in as a babyface. So it was kind of an awkward position. He should have been, and then like in the match, he was like doing more heel stuff. But then at the end, you know, he was holding up the bell and then looking around at everyone, and everyone was like, no, don't do it, you know, like, and all of that. And he just put the bell down, and then Brett beat him, you know, because he hesitated and, you know, whatnot. But, you know, he earned that, you know, respect kind of thing of like, yeah, I have to do this the right way, or, you know, this is how my legacy is going to be, or whatever else it is. That kind of pivotal moment, like, do that kind of thing. You know, you don't do the exact same thing, but like do that kind of thing. Like that thing's been done before as well, like, or tried to be redone as well. So you could do that where it's like, here's Kazarian, here he's going to cheat. You know, he's been a cheater for the last couple of years. He's been in, you know, little bitch, or, you know, like, and this is his last chance. He believes, you know, he can do it. But, you know, he's seeing the fans and he's like, no, and they're like, no, 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 boo, 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 and whatnot. And he's like, all right, I'll win properly, you know. But then that lets Santana beat him. And then you have that moment of being like, all right, you know, let's shake hands. You beat me fair and square. You know, even if throughout the match he was cheating and doing other stuff and shenanigans and whatnot, it's like that final moment, like, you know, kind of giving it over and saying, all right, you know, even if you don't want to do that, you could at least try to do something similar. But I still think that would be like where I would take things, of being like, okay, because Kazarian can be a great hand. He can be a great tag team guy or whatever in the future. Like, but at this point, if you were going to put the belt on him, you should have already done it. Like, it's way over time to have already pulled the trigger. Like I said before, he's at that level where it's like, now he's just like, you can still have him be the champion and be the guy who's like, I'm only here to put other people over or whatever. That's why I said, like, if you put him with Jake something, it's like, okay, then you're going to build something for Jake where he finally, you know, has enough of Kazarian or whatever else it is, and then beats Kazarian for the title or whatever. I don't know. You know, like, there's still that potential there in some ways, or breaking out or what have you. But, like, right now, the roster needs way more heels, and more young heels. So, like, that's where I'd be investing, you know, for, you know, like, even if you're going to say, all right, Tasha, we need some women's tag teams, or we need a women's singles person for this person to go up against, you know, like, okay, but we also need women's tag teams. So it's like, especially heel women tag teams. You could put her with Jada Parker or whatever, I don't know, or somebody else, I don't know. But now that she's in Order 4, does that mean that they're in Order 4? I mean, who was it, Marsha, who was like tagging with Lish at first? And it was like a big question whether she was in the system or whether she wasn't. Or was it, like, I think Tasha won it after that, and there was still like that question of whether she was in the system or whether she wasn't in the system, kind of thing. That was all kind of like mixed together. I can't remember exactly what happened kind of there, but they weren't together in the system. What they were just like teaming together. Like, so you could still do that, I guess, where it's like this person is in this faction, but this person who is teaming with this person, they're not in the faction. or what have you. So you could do that with like, with Tasha and somebody. It doesn't really matter who, but you could do that with her and somebody. Like, I don't know whether you need single stars more, or you need like tag teams more. You kind of need both. But yeah, certainly you need both. Same with like tag teams. Like, turn Sinner and Saint back to being heels, dude. Because especially if the Hardys are going to be the champions, like, you need more heel teams, dude. Yeah, and if Casey Navarro is going to come back, and I have a lot of high hopes for him to come back, and soon, he needs to be a heel. Despite if people are like, hey, we're happy to see you back. I'll be happy to see him back too, but, like, dude, he needs to be heel because there's, like, that's the role that needs to be filled. Like, there's, like, so many holes for heels in there. And even if he's going to be, like, just there to put other people over, which I hope that he's not, but, like, at least, even if that is the case, which it, in my opinion, shouldn't be, but even if that is the case, then it's like, at least, like, you have somebody else that you can rely on that's going to be there, that, you can say, oh, well, if we can form a good story with him or whatever. And maybe you can, like, put him in the tag team division. Like, you could put him and Leon together. Or something like that. I don't know. You could put him with somebody else. I don't know. And have him being like, AJ, you screwed me over. And, Rich, you screwed me over. And all of this. And now I'm back. And I'm going to find myself a partner. And we're going to beat you. Like, that whole thing. So you could keep him babyface for a little while or whatever. But if he's going to be like a single star, he needs to be a heel. So, but yeah, just having, like, we've said this probably thousands. I've probably said this stuff thousands of times. But yeah, like, JDC, Myers, Eddie, Lish, and Moose, they're, like, the system, they were all really great heels. Like, I don't really think they're really good baby faces. But, like, yeah. Then it starts becoming like, not that you have too many heels, but yeah. Like, the dynamics need to shift of being like, is this who's going to team? When are they going to team? Like, more so. Or maybe that faction needs to break up a little bit, or needs to be, not break up, but, like, needs to sort of be more separate sort of thing of, like, okay, we're really going to invest in Moose and Eddie, or Moose and whoever, to be tag team champions down the road, or something, and then go from there, or whatever, But the biggest problem does feel like basically there's no real, like, updates coming for the rest of the month. Like, there's 2 weeks, I believe. Oh, no, I think it's only 1 week after this, I think it is, that has nothing. Or basically doesn't have anything scheduled for it currently at this time. But still, you're going to have, no build to this. Like, and then it is a minor pay-per-view or whatever. But still, you're going to have zero build to it. Like, what the hell? Or basically zero build. Like, you might have 1 week of, like, this is what, live episode. But then it's like, it's tomorrow. Like, what the heck? There's no way for people to really get hyped for, like, what they're going to see in, like, a day or two. Like, what? So that's where you, like, you've got to have already started to announce, okay, who are we going to see Santana fight? Who is this person going to fight? What's going to happen? And maybe you have to do that on an NXT. So, yeah, like that does help the fact that you've got NXT to be there, but you shouldn't have to. Like I said, you should have, had a taping or an episode after Bound for Glory. And this is why I thought like they were gonna announce like a live episode or taping or something after just after Bound for Glory would be like, okay, so we're gonna do, and maybe have these other things too, but yeah, like none of that's happened. So it's just like, dudes, what the frick? Like maybe like your build up is more for Final Resolution rather than Turning Point itself. So okay, sure. Let's do that then. Okay, that's fine if you're gonna do that, but like, oh, it's not fine, but it's all right if you're thinking, okay, whatever's happening here at this event doesn't really matter. What we're trying to do is build to this, like, to Final Resolution and then to Genesis. So that'd be good if they like, okay, like sit back. And this is what I think that they sort of needed to do. But they have like many days out of the week where they should just sit and plan and say, okay, what are we doing? And maybe it is where it's like, oh, well, we've got to wait for NXT or the WWE guys to say, hey, we want to send this person over. We want this person to do this or whatever. Or we want to lend you this person. We think that they've got something or whatever. Or we feel like, hey, you've been, coming to the party. You've been bringing it. You've been doing it. You've been, everything, or basically everything that we request, so I don't know. I think that we'll have to review, or well, not review it, but really look at it when they actually announce stuff. But this is really not good. Like I said, it's just, oh, yeah, these things, they're going to happen tomorrow or whatever. Maybe they will announce something before then, but like it did feel like they were kind of cooking with something with like EY or whatever in this episode, in this last week's episode, but like, dude, what? Like, you actually need to have already set it up. You already need to show me like what we are going to see so that people, not just me, can be like, okay, so this is what we're going to see. Okay, cool. So, people can sit there and go, okay, cool. Same sort of thing. Like I said this before, same sort of thing you have to kind of think about doing with EY. It's like time to retire. Time for the Hardys to go to WWE and look to retire. All these guys that it's like time to look to retire, and what are you going to do? Like, you've got to look at retiring these guys or moving them on and having people replace them. So you need to be like building up people that are on the same level as what they were, and several people, not just like Mike Santana is here. And like, we don't know the status of Joe Hendry, but if Joe Hendry, like, I doubt that they're going to get him to stay, but like, if he was to stay, that would be another like not big addition, but it would be a big, boon to TNA, because then they'd have that other superstar there that, people want to come and see and whatnot. So you could keep like this brand hopping kind of going where it's like, he's in TNA, he's in NXT, he's here, he's there, say his name and he appears, that kind of thing. But like, you've got to have the right opponents, the right things for him to come in and do. like we've already seen Santana and Hendry go at it, and that I think that, you know, unfortunately, or maybe I don't know, that might have been done because they were like, well, we don't know if we're ever going to get the chance to do this while the world title's on the line. We don't know, you know, whether he's staying or whether he's just going or probably going at this point. So, you know, we want to round him out by saying, okay, you know, that's it, you know, and, you know, we've kind of tried to pass that torch to Santana, but you can't just do that. You've got to have, and had to have other people. You know, you should have had AJ Francis in there if he's going to be a single star, or Jake something, or somebody, anybody, just everyone. Everyone needs to beat him, as many of his people as possible. You know, we finally decided, you know, like, give this person some real legitimacy, let them beat, you know, this person, or even if, like, he is sticking around for one more show or whatever it is, I don't know, but, you know, let somebody like that beat him, so that then you've got somebody like, you know, starting to get that momentum and starting to feel like, okay, this other person now really could be the next thing, or one of the next things that's on the roster. You could obviously bring back some guys from the past. Like I said before, I wanted to see Amazing Red come back and do stuff with Leon. Still kind of want to see it. People are wanting AJ Styles to come back in before his retirement. So, or, you know, at his retirement at least. So, but that's next year sometime, you know. So, like, he's been saying that for like a year or two or something, or whatever it's been. Remember, I can't remember how long Sting was like saying he was going to retire, but it was like over a decade. But yeah. But yeah, guys, like, I know you, like, you hardcore guys, you know all this sort of stuff, but it is important to kind of think, okay, where are we at? Where are we going? What are they doing? You know, how can they build this thing? And maybe it is just like, let's see, like, and that's another like hint in some ways of being like, you know, we're seeing more TNA stories on NXT and that sort of thing. So yeah, maybe that's what you'll get, like where TNA will be in the future, you know. But yeah, I think like especially like these last 2 or 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it is, without like proper episodes of TV, and then you're like 1 week or 1 or 2 days away from the show being like, hey, turn up for this that we threw together, or, you know, that doesn't have any build. Maybe like if you say, okay, we're gonna have like tournaments or whatever, and this and this and this, that, you know, whoever wins or whatever is going to be the number one X division, the number one tag team, or whatever. Maybe you could do that for the tag titles. Like, I would rather see Matt and Jeff like pinned or submitted and lose the belts than them vacate the belts, because how are you going to build new, bigger, and better teams than them if they don't get pinned or submitted? I said this before. You're not. You have to have them get pinned or submitted or whatever for them to, you know, go out on a swan song at some point and leave. That's it. So, yeah, hoping for the best. Maybe more things will become more clear when more things are announced. We probably won't get that for a few weeks, so we'll have to wait and see. So, guys, I hope you have enjoyed this one. I will try to do the updates and give my thoughts and things like that in the upcoming weeks or whatever, whenever they do it. And they might even do it in the next 5 minutes after I've done this, but what have you. It is what it is at times. So, but yeah, guys, hope you have enjoyed and hope you join me again in another one.